Assalamu alaikum. This is Khadizatuz Zohara. Welcome you all in my third class of Risk and Uncertainty. Today we are going to learn how to calculate standard deviation. For calculating standard deviation, we are going to follow 5 steps. In the first step, for calculating standard deviation, at first all the returns earned in the previous years, which will be given in our question, should be added. That means we have to determine the summation of rate of returns company earned in past years. Returns company earned in past years is expressed by R. Then we have to divide this summation by the number of years. After dividing it, we will get average rate of return of the project. Average rate of return of the project is expressed by R bar. So, a project's average rate of return R bar equal to summation of past earned rate of returns divided by number of years. Then, next step. Step 2. In this step, we have to determine the deviation by subtracting the average rate of return from each year's rate of return. So, the deviation of return from average rate of return equal to R minus R bar equal to return minus average rate of return. In third step, square of deviation of each year is determined. How? Square of deviation equal to R minus R bar whole square. That means return minus average rate of return whole square. In each year's return, we have to subtract average rate of return and then we have to square that result. In step 4, after calculating the square of each year's deviation, summation of those squares of deviation is calculated. And then average of square of deviation is calculated through dividing this summation of squares of deviation by number of years minus 1, not by number of years. Average of square of deviation, summation of R minus R bar square divided by n minus 1 equal to summation of squares of deviation divided by number of years minus 1. And in the final step, step 5, standard deviation is determined by taking the square root of the average of square of deviation. The result we get in step 4, that should be square root. So standard deviation is expressed by sigma equal to root over of average of square of deviation. Decision taking principles. The higher the value of standard deviation, the higher the risk is, and the lower the value of standard deviation, the lower the risk is. Investment in a project having lower value of standard deviation is more preferred. Besides this, if the determined value of standard deviation of any project is less than the predetermined minimum acceptable value of standard deviation by the management authority of a company, the project is acceptable. If the determined value of standard deviation of any project is higher than the predetermined minimum acceptable value of standard deviation by the management authority of company, the project is rejectable. If the determined value of standard deviation of any project is equals to the predetermined minimum acceptable value of standard deviation by the management authority of company, the project may be accepted or rejected. Now we will see an example so that we can easily calculate standard deviation, and practice of standard deviation can be easily through this example. Mr. Hassan is an investor of a project named Rainbow. The rates of return he earned last 6 years from there are 15%, 10%, minus 5%, 23%, 14%, and 27% respectively. Calculate the standard deviation of his investment. Here the values of rate of return, that means R are respectively 15%, 10%, -5%, 23%, 14%, and 27%. With these values of R, now we will determine the average rate of return like step 1. A project's average rate of return R bar equal to summation of past earned rate of return, that means R, summation of R divided by number of years. So we have to sum 15 plus 10 plus -5 plus 23 plus 14 plus 27, and then we have to divide the summation by 6. Here the summation is 84 and we have to divide 84 by 6, then the result is 14%. So the project's average rate of return R bar equal to 14%. Now we have to determine the next step, still the summation of squares of deviation. That means we have to determine step 2 to step 4 with this table. At first we have to fill up the box of year. We have to fill up the box of year by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then return, which is given in the question, 15, 10, -5, 23, 14 and 27. Then we have determined average return R bar equal to 14%. We have to write it in each box. 14, 14, 14 and 14, 14. Deviation of return from average return. In this step, we have to subtract 14 from 15 equal to 1. Then 10 minus 14, square root of the deviation, 1 square equal to 1. Then we have to write it in the last box, summation of squares of deviation 1. Then we are going next row, 10 minus 14 equal to -4. Square of the deviation R minus R bar square minus 4 square equal to 16. Then we are writing it in the last box, last column, plus 16. In the third row, -5 minus 14 equal to -19. -19 square equal to 361 plus 361. 23 minus 14 equal to 9. 9 square equal to 81. 361 plus 81. 14 minus 14 equal to 0. 0 square equal to 0. 81 plus 0. 27 minus 14 equal to 13. 13 square equal to 169. 0 plus 169. In the last column, we see 1 plus 16 plus 361 plus 81 plus 0 plus 169 is equal to 628. So the summation of squares of deviation is 628. In this box, we easily calculate the summation of squares of deviation. This is also called the variance. Variance is 628. Now, average of square of deviation R minus R bar square divided by n minus 1. Here R minus R bar square, summation of R minus R bar square is 628, which should be divided by number of years minus 1, that means 6 minus 1, that means 5. 628 divided by 5 is equal to 125.6. So the standard deviation sigma is equal to root over of 125.6 equal to 11.21%. Now we can say that standard deviation of Mr. Hassan's investment is 11.21%. That means the risk of Mr. Hassan's investment is 11.21%. Hope you all will understand. If you understand, then there is a homework for you. There are three homework. Hope you will practice and try to do it properly. After doing it, you have to send it in my inbox, and you can share the video so your friends can also be benefited. Thank you all.